I think the number one prerequisite for being a fantastic adventurer is courage. I said it before.
Hey, wait, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. Hey, wait, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boy Isaiah.
Yo, hi, yo.
And today we're talking more Tower of God, part 2 of our discussion, covering what episodes again, Isaiah?
278.
Sorry,
296.
296. I
Thank.
put him on the spot.
Yeah.
My man. He just normally knows, and I
I'm
always
pretty
forget
sure
them.
that's what it is.
Yeah, hidden floor, Jahad beating the hell out of people, you know, the fun stuff. But anyway, part 2 of our discussion is today. We're covering another 5 questions that may have not gotten the highest upvotes, but were very interesting questions. Let some other people's voices be heard that maybe weren't already, or some pretty close upvoted questions in terms of the top 7. So here today to discuss it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. But before we get into that, we want to go over our comment of the day. I will be honest, for this one, we had to pull a comment from the video prior, so our prior discussion, just because at the time of recording, the snow is coming down really heavy, so it was hard for us to meet up, and because of that, we haven't edited and had our question answered from our other discussion yet, so you don't even know that it's there, but then you do, because it's time travel shit. So anyway, we're gonna hit it with this one, and then we'll come back around in our next videos. But this one today comes from Queenie Long, says, Wave controller was the answer. We asked what was Baam's position. Says for the rest of this arc, 50% of this channel will just be all of us roasting Jahad, and I'm here for it. And so are we. To be completely honest with you, I'm so ready for it. But anyway, let's get into this discussion. Isaiah, if you would love to take it away with that first question, we get on with it.
First question comes from Ryu.
That's a lie. It's up.
Oh, okay. Big fat liar. You've made me a fool. The first question actually comes from Irene Sharda. They say, surprise, Khun has ice and spearbearer talents. Khun had to learn a lesson here and could not progress in his own power without conquering his own pride. How do you think his experience here on the hidden floor will influence his power levels in the future, his dreams for the future, as well as his attitude towards his father and the blood he inherited? So this is just really, it's great. Because Khun, so like he has to learn, like the question states, that pride isn't everything, and if he's going to get ahead, if he's going to progress, if he's going to get stronger, which he, we realize that he wants to be for Baam, he doesn't want to become a burden. It's going to require training, and it's going to require putting effort into something that he's not 100% like sure of the outcome, which is something we know he's not crazy about doing, from the rip. But this arc is great for that because it's, one, because it's none other than his father in a sense, even though it's the past version, who sort of spawns that. And it's like, hey, I don't know what's going on with you or like what you in the future me like got going on, but like, if you got beef with me, like, wouldn't you want to train and get stronger? Like, it's this weird, like, duality thing, because Khun is someone who's so incredibly naturally gifted and naturally talented and has these amazing Khun genetics that if he were to apply himself and train and put effort into honing a skill, he'd probably easily succeed most of the party in terms of like the time it takes for him to get to an excellent amount of strength or acquire a new skill. But that is something he's not fond of doing because he sees it, at least up until this arc, as a pointless endeavor, right? He knows how strong his father is. He knows, because of whatever the events were that happened between him and his father, or maybe even just him and his family. It feels like a fool's errand to him. He's like, yeah, okay, but I'm never going to be Khun Edan strong. I'm never going to be that powerful. Like, I'm never going to be able to dethrone this man. So, like, I'm not a fan of putting all my effort into something that's never going to, like, that's, that, like, just struggling to survive. But then he has that flashback with Maria that reminds, that coupled with being now and traveling with Baam and sort of seeing how Baam has had to, like, all the things Baam has struggled with to gain said powers, that, like, this isn't, maybe that's not such a hindrance after all, and that maybe that there is credit and there is weight and value to trying and struggling to survive, and maybe there is even beauty in it. And that is in turn sort of what awakens this new, vigor in him and gets him his ice power as a spear bearer. I think it's going to teach him that in the future, this endeavor that he wants to be head of the family is not something that he's going to be able to like wait to come to him, or big brain scheme around. Like, he's going to have to fight for it, and it's going to be a struggle, and it's going to be hard. But like, to coin a well-known phrase, nothing worth having is easy to get. That just that in itself is what's going to make that position all the more valuable for him when he does finally, if and when he does finally get it, because he had to work for it. He had to fight for it. He had to, struggle just to get it. And that's good character growth for anybody, right? I mean, that's just a good life lesson. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Honestly, mirror a lot of the points that Isaiah had. I think it'll be interesting. I mean, we kind of already have the clue here, but Khun has always been in search of, whether he realized it or not, something to fight for, something to struggle for, and there is beauty in struggle in that sense. But if it is for naught, or if it is for nothing, then what's the point, right? So like, Khun never, at least for the way I see it, felt compelled to, go forward and swallow his own pride and put his life on the line and his talents and such, because he had nothing to do it for. Nothing was worth it. He kind of, I almost thought that some of it was going to just come to him in that sense, where he's like, I'm going to, take over the family. I'm going to do all this kind of thing. But with the introduction of Baam, we definitely get part of that reason, what he's willing to put his life on the line for, what he's willing to struggle for. And just beyond Baam himself as an individual, I think even extends to maybe some of Baam's ideals and what it is he does as a character. And through Baam's actions, he shows, the goodness in people. He shows what it means to be a genuine person, etc. So I think Khun gravitates to not just Baam as an individual, but all of those ideologies wrapped up into one neat bow. But that's my thoughts on it. So thank you for the question. So getting into the second question here, we have by Vladimir, says, what makes one the greatest adventurer of all time? What constitutes being an adventurer in the first place? Is it one's strength, skill, ingenuity, or enthusiasm for adventure? And then he includes a panel of Jahad talking to Maschenny, and she's saying, is the greatest adventurer in the tower. He's the greatest adventurer in the tower. So, yeah, I think it's a conglomerate of all of those things that you had mentioned. And I think enthusiasm definitely gets put to the forefront in my mind when it comes to being a great adventurer, knowing that you can do it, willing to take the risks. I think courage would be something that could be incorporated with all of these skills, along with strength and enthusiasm, ingenuity, battlefield smarts, etc. And I think that's why Jahad is so battlefield savvy. When he fights someone, like, he fully analyzes their weaknesses, their strengths, the environment around him. If they're trying to get plans to get a one up on him in this scenario, and he sniffs it out within a second, because he has this awareness about him, which I love characters like that at least have that sort of fighting style and that way of thinking. It's almost like instinct that they have. So he definitely is an example of that to the highest amount, and it all just goes to show why he is king, and why he was able to climb this tower with these companions, that he's there for it. He has all of these skills wrapped up into one. So those are my thoughts personally.
Yeah, I mostly echo the things you said. Jahad, like SIU, we read some of the blog posts recently, and SIU makes it a point to say, way back in the chapters when Data Jahad is first introduced, that Jahad is, this somewhat, he's not this like force of nature, stoic, very like, I am king, like kind of guy. But, in that he's got this goofiness to him. He's got this like, arrogance, this little bit of like, cockiness, per se. But that stuff doesn't come with like naiveness and foolishness, that he is a natural born genius when it comes to manipulating Shinsu, when it comes to like learning how to fight. And like you said, when it comes to having this sort of like battle awareness and tactical instinct. Just in the fight that we saw recently with him and Maschenny, Jahad clearly is somebody who has fought a stupid number of battles and like just understands how to fight. Like he understands how to analyze the situation, his opponents for their weaknesses, strengths, X, Y, and Z. And also understands how to like prioritize things in a fight, right? So like again in this fight here, Maschenny is throwing everything she's got at this dude, and she's got the lightning pill, and she's got like all her super fast, sword skills and stuff. But he's able to quickly and easily dismantle not only her but Icardi, who is providing her the support, right? Because you take out her support, then she that's one like he displays this very innate understanding of like, I know how to fight and I know like what to do in a fight, like I know how to win almost. And like you said, it does go to this fact of like, well, he acquired this position of king for a reason. I would wager to say that maybe one of the only people that might have been on his level was V, but since V killed himself, Jahad is unopposed in that level, right, of battle savviness and understanding. So I think he is the greatest adventurer because he is like he just knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, to add one more thing on to the end, like I said before, I'd like to really echo the point that I think the number one prerequisite for being a fantastic adventurer is courage. I said it before, but I really do think the more I analyze this question and kind of hear some of the thoughts, it's that Jahad obviously has changed from when he was initially coming into the tower with these folks, but from what it seems like, Jahad was the one to inspire all of these people to follow his lead when coming into the tower, and a lot of that took courage to face the unknown, to scale each floor and not know what sort of tests or anything would be brought upon you. Right now in the tower, I mean, like, you kind of get that, obviously, and it takes courage to climb it, but the tests and the whole scope of it has kind of changed in the sense that Jahad has now mashed this into some, sort of well-oiled machine, at least in his terms, not for everyone else. But there was a lot of unknown elements, especially when they first came here. So I think his sense of adventure is definitely spurred on by his courage, and I think that's what helped the other people of the 10 great families to gravitate towards him and to follow his lead, because that comes with a sort of charisma. It's kind of hard to knock someone for so long without just looking incredibly petty when they are just so forthright in their courage and their strength to just carry on with something, right? It's easy to knock it where it's like, oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to do something. But it's like Jahad's living proof that, just like whatever the naysayers say, like, I'm going to go and do it. Unfortunately, he was incredibly corrupted as he went up. But I think his initial, the young Jahad, his courage was definitely the number one quality that he possessed that let him become the best adventurer that there is. So,
okay. Next question that we have is from Riru. They say, it was revealed that Data Maschenny has always wanted to fight Jahad, but it's a wish that her outside self can't achieve. Do you think that the outside Maschenny truly gave up on this goal? How has your opinion on why she wanted to beat Yuri for the Green April changed? So yeah, I definitely do believe that the reason that young Maschenny is taking advantage of the situation is, like the question states, because she literally can't on the outside. And I don't think it's a manner of willpower per se, as in like she gave up. I do think that there is a failsafe, let's just say, that Jahad has in place where none of the princesses physically can challenge him. Because that just seems smart if you're going to be someone like Jahad who has this blood that is, just so powerful. Like, why would you just be giving it to people like just because they're cute or just because like whatever? It's like, no, you give somebody a taste of the power, and they're eventually, at least some of them, are going to want more, right? Or test their mettle, so to speak, against the origin of that power. So as someone like Jahad, who at least, again, from context, we know or have surmised to be somebody who is pretty cautious and pretty paranoid, I don't think it's out of the question that he would put a fail-safe in display here, which we see in Dorsey, when Dorsey meets Data Jahad, and we see it for a minute, although Maschenny is eventually able to shake it off, happen with her, where I do believe there's a literal failsafe where, like, once the princesses come in contact with either Jahad's Shinsu, or maybe it's that third eye of his, like, there's something about the blood that they have in them that, like, activates or connects and, like, literally puts them in, like, a state of, like, paralysis where they can't oppose him, they can't fight him, which would make sense and would validate him giving them that kind of power. Like, yeah, you're stupid strong. You could probably fight anybody in the tower, but don't think about fighting me. But I do, so with that being said, and with the end of this question, I do think that the validity of Maschenny wanting to get the Green April from Yuri is that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Maschenny, outside Maschenny, already has 2-month series, or she has 1, right?
She's the Yellow May.
Yellow May. So if she gets the Yellow May and the Green April, I think there might be something to be said, something that might be said, something, there might be something said that, like, much like we saw with Yuri, getting the 2 weapons together, she might think will give her the power to, like, break that spell and then, like, you know, allow her to oppose Jahad. Because I believe in the, like, you know, the flashbacks and stuff, in the initial story, that was what happened with, forgetting the other princess's name, the first princess that goes insane.
Can't remember her name either, but I get the point.
Yeah, who has the, you know, which they touted as having the 2 of the month weapon, or collecting more as many of the month weapons as she could. So maybe Miss Cheney believes that there is some link between acquiring X amount of month series weapons and being able to oppose and or fight and maybe defeat Jahad. So that's my thoughts.
She might be in the loop that the 13 months have to come together to form, right? Because that's what has to form the second portion of the key besides the rings. So she might have a lot of things going on where it's like she knows, but it's like she's on another level than our protagonist right now. So it's like she's like, I'm already 12 steps ahead of you guys. Like, I'm kind of trying to do my own thing here, you know, to try and usurp this power because big boy things are going on up top here in the tower. I don't know. There could be something like that. That would be curious to see. And I mean, she's stupid powerful from the small glimpse that we got from her in the data version. So I could only assume she's got to be up there as like one of the strongest princesses. At least that would be my guess. You know, because she comes from a family, she's just incredibly gifted, the whole 9. So, and she seems pretty confident with that. So I think that she may have some sort of ulterior good guy motive in that case. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. And I don't think that she has fully given up, to answer the question, on maybe fighting Jahad, but maybe she realizes how much of a disadvantage there's no way she's going to be able to do it solo. So she's got some like Khun level scheme going on, which that would be my guess.
Yeah, she doesn't strike me, at least from what we saw in that last couple of chapters with that fight, like the level of passion. I don't feel like that's something that would have died out, and she'd be like, whatever. Like, I feel like, again, because she comes from a family like the Khuns, she's like, all right, I could beat him. I just got to figure out a loophole around all of this. She doesn't seem like somebody that would just throw down the towel and you know, give up in that regard. Plus, I hope it's that method, because then I can feel a little bit better about simping on her. Because I'm like, oh, she's just trying to overthrow Jahad. She's just taking the long way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Only thing is, I think it's that, like, she's going to have to pull some sideways stuff with getting all the 13 months or, like, some ridiculous sort of thing. It's just like a 1v1. If this data fight was anything indicative of how that's going to go up top, she's going to need a lot of firepower. But anyway, moving on to the next question here we have by Emperor Dark North. Thank you for the question. Dark North says, thoughts on Khun's mind going, quote, I'm the one slowing down Baam's progress. How much is Baam progressing so that Khun is under this much pressure? Is this going to be a potential divide in the team? I think if there is any sort of divide, I don't think it's anything where Baam is like, Khun, sorry to tell you, bro, you're off the squad. I don't think you're catching up here. Quite frankly, the team's lagging because of you. I don't think Baam would say that really ever. I think Baam is going to do anything in his power to bring anyone along with them, and especially Khun and Rak. If there is any sort of wedge, it's probably a self-inflicted one by Khun himself. But if this moment with the ice spear and Khun kind of getting over his pride was indicative of anything, I think he has the ability to get over that hurdle. But that seems like, you know, one of the next potential character arcs that Khun is going to have, right? Where it's like he gets over his pride, maybe he sees his father in new light, etc. He needs something to fight for. He needs something that's worth struggling for. He needs to know what it is to struggle, like really struggle in the sense where a lot of times he just couldn't be bothered. And I think one of the next things now would be where it's like, okay, am I falling behind? Am I being a detriment now in the sense that I can't catch up in terms of power? So I don't think it'll be an ultimate wedge, but maybe it'll be a self-inflicted thing by Khun, and then Baam's going to have to snap him out of it, or Khun's going to have some sort of awakening moment. But those are my initial thoughts on the question. What do you got?
Yeah, I definitely think it's good. Like I have said, and will continue to say, one of the things that I really love the most about this arc is how much it's forcing these characters to, pun intended, look in a mirror and like really reflect and have some introspection on themselves and what makes them tick and how much farther they can grow from where they're at and if they need to and why, all that stuff. We see a little bit, or we see a significant amount of it with Baam when he finally confronts his sworn enemy Viol, and you realize what he thinks of that portion of his life and like what that meant to him and where he places that in terms of importance and priority as far as like getting to the next stage of his development or his growth. And we see this, in Khun with lines like this, and again with the whole moment of his awakening with the ice spear powers. Khun, I think Baam is progressing at a very fast rate. I mean, that's Bam's MO, getting slapped with a super powerful move and not dying, and then now he has super powerful move. So Bam's like on some level, I get where Khun must be feeling, because it must be hard to constantly try and stack your power up to somebody like Baam, who just is literally not like on the normal level of how people like progress and get stronger. So just that in itself must be like, oh shit, all right, he's already got like a magic orb that can explode or do whatever he wants. But again, it does still stand the point that one of the reasons that Khun feels that he's falling behind is because we've hit this blockade now, where I feel like Khun, a lot of what he's been doing has been coasting by on his natural, God-given talents, and that is only going to get him and has only gotten him this far, up to this point. If he's going to get any stronger, if he wants to stay in the mindset of not feeling like a burden to people like Baam, he's going to have to get stronger by means of fighting for those power-ups, fighting to struggle, and fighting to survive. Because the rest of this journey from here up, I imagine, is not going to be a breeze. It's not going to be something Khun can just come up with one plan and then that's it. Nobody has to worry about anything. But like you said, I do believe if this arc and specifically this moment and the Ice Spear moment after are indicative of anything, is that Khun is capable of that and he is capable of overstepping those hurdles. I would like to see... I could see Khun very much, I guess, sort of having a very introspective thing about it, where he sort of like has this thought and then comes to the conclusion on his own that he's like, wait a minute, this is all about me. If I can learn, if I can grasp this idea and this concept and I can work to fighting for something that I believe in, I won't ever fall behind. But I would kind of like to see Baam confront him with this, because I feel like Baam hasn't really had any of those moments with any of the main cast. Like a lot of characters have come to Baam and been like, Baam, you need to do this, or you need to take it easier, you need to think. Baam really hasn't given any of that back to any of the characters, and not to say that I guess necessarily he needs to, but I do think it would be a much more harder-hitting emotional moment, and I do think it would be a much more logical and connective moment if Baam is like to come to someone like Khun, and he's like, Khun, you don't have, like, I'm not here to like grade you guys, right? I'm not here, like, you work at your own pace. As long as you are, willing to fight with me and fight for what's right, like, we're good. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that level of reinsurance is important, right? Whether we're talking about Baam and Khun, Baam and Rak, like whoever, anybody in this group, like it is important that no matter what they face going up, they all know and hear it from each other. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's all it even if like Khun knows in the back of his mind and Baam knows it, sometimes it's just saying it, right? That's the difference. That they're, they got each other's back and they're here for each other. All right. So last question comes from the Fire Potato. She says, you may have noticed that the Red Thryssa looks quite different. Is it evolving? Does it show some kind of symbolism and predictions to what this could mean? So yes, I definitely did notice it looks even more badass now than it did in the last set of chapters that we read. I do think that there is some symbolism to it, because I do think the Red Thryssa and the blue demon guy, still don't have a good name coin for him yet, in their own way, are literal symbolism for Baam's character. So I do think that like they represent two different sides of Baam, and I do think going forward, like Baam is actually going to have some sort of counter effect on these two demons in terms of like the stronger Baam gets and the more control and sense of self that he acquires, it's going to sort of mold and shift these demons instead of being these two separate entities to being like literal two halves of like the same coin that is like essentially all three of them are going to like come together as this like one unit, but in a sense, like, you know, there's still aspects of it obviously that are like each their own individual thing, but like it's not going to be so much like Baam, who has the body, and then he's got the Red Thryssa and the blue guy. It's going to be more like Baam utilizing this side of himself, which is like, you know, courtesy of the blue demon, and then Baam utilizing this part, like, but it's all everything is gonna meld together in Baam. You know what I mean? Baam is going to like really sort of and I think that another parallel that might draw to is someone like Jahad, who I think actually ended up being the flip opposite, where the demon Jahad allowed to sort of manifest and take over Jahad. So now Jahad is actually more like a vessel in a sense, and the demon is much more prevalent and much more awake and owns much more of that sense of self than even Jahad himself does. Like, he's almost secondary to the demon, where Baam, I think it's going to be the opposite. I think as Baam grows and evolves as a character and as a person, he's going to force these demons to sort of like come to terms and come together, and it's going to be Baam with the power of these demons instead of these demons with Baam's power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they scale along with Baam, and damn, he looks sick. He's jacked. He's freaking jacked. It's going to be really cool to see these things get even more developed, I guess, you know, depending on how far that goes. But I think, to mirror what Isaiah was saying, is that it's obviously not going to be something where it's like they're coming out all the time. I think that was like a big symbolism moment where it's like he's grabbing the orb, but like he's not actually out there. It's like symbolizing that, yeah, that's Baam, but like that's the thing inside Baam. So I think it's like the whole it reminds me of Naruto when he talks to his father and he's like, why the hell would you put this thing in me? And he's like, that was rude. And his father's like, because I knew if anyone could handle it, it was you, you know? And like, I think it's that type thing where it's like Baam has these demons in him that nobody else, Jahad included, would even be able to withstand without succumbing to its immense power. But Baam is just kind of built different, so they'll scale along with him, but Baam is going to rely on his own thing. It's a trope that's used in a lot of anime. I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen kind of does it as well, where it's like, I'm not using Sukuna's power, I'm using mine, etc. So yeah, kind of mirroring a lot of the points that Isaiah said there. But anyway, folks, that is the discussion. Those are the questions that we had posed to us today. Thank you very much for posing said question. Isaiah did have a question for you guys that made it to the end of this video for the comment of the day, if you'd like to let him know.
So this video's question is, what is the nickname that Wangnan refers to himself as when we meet him?
All right. So there you go, folks. Answer that question and then type your comment, and we might just read it in one of our next discussions. Don't want to miss it. If you guys did like the content today, make sure you guys are liking this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys are subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss any future discussions. Make sure you guys are sharing with your friends, because the more the merrier, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? The questions posed, our answers to them, these chapters, etc. Let us know all those thoughts in the comments down below. Big shout out to our patrons, especially our acolytes of anime. That would be Stoic and Nathan. Couldn't do this without you guys. We love you, and your support really goes a long way. And this video is going to come out when the new merch is out, right?
Oh yeah, what's that?
Today is the first? Yeah. Okay. Didn't want to like do that thing. And you're like, Ian, you're blowing it again. Because I'm always just like, check this out. And I say, it's like, nobody's supposed to know that yet. So new merch is out. And it is of our mascot, Ayami. So if you wanted to cop some Ayami swag, you can head over to the AOA merch shop. The link is in our description down below, along with all of the other necessary links for you guys to support the channel. And you can cop some swag with it. So we're really excited to have these get sold and how it's going to look. And I believe Isaiah ordered one himself. So it's going to be really sweet seeing this, you know, just worn through all of it. It's going to be really cool. And then I had one more thing. Oh, yes. Make sure you guys, if you haven't already, are subscribing to our AOA Reacts channel. And now for the Tower of God, people more than ever, because you might have been just like, you know what? I'm chilling with Tower of God. I'm going to skate by. I don't have to subscribe to the other channel. What are they covering? Like, Jujutsu Kaisen? I don't even watch that. Attack on Titan? Overrated, right? You might say something like that. But now you're definitely going to want to go subscribe over there, because from here forward, we are putting all of our live read-throughs / reactions on the AOA Reacts channel. So for any of you that were in our last live stream, you'll know that we streamed it simultaneously on Twitch and AOA Reacts because of our copyright strike on the main channel. And we figured, you know what? This is a reaction channel, so it would probably make sense to put all the reactions on there and live read-throughs count as one of them. So we're going to continue henceforth putting all of our live read-throughs, Solo Leveling, Tower of God, any other webtoons that we might cover in the future, along with our live reactions on AOA Reacts. So you want to subscribe to that channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future live streams pertaining to Tower of God. But I think that's all the announcements I have. Thank you for bearing with me. We love your faces, and until next time, we will catch you on the flip. Peace.
Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blaze of the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.